Comics Coffee Metal Podcast, episode 172.
Greetings and welcome to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast. I'm your host, DUNKIN. Today I'm joined by two amazingly talented creators, LAYNE MORGAN and Skylar Patridge. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Both of you have a plethora of amazing work behind you. Skylar, I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for probably a couple years now because I'm such a fan of your artwork and seeing the, your stuff was always great, but seeing the growth over the past few years and the success you've been getting working with DC, and now you both are collaborating on a really cool looking book with White Ash Comics called Run, which is really looks really cool, and I can't wait to hear all about it. LAYNE, you've done TV work on CW's Legacies, and you're working right now on Star Trek Academy. That's the official title, right?
Starfleet Academy.
Starfleet. Oh God, sorry. I'm nerd card revoked. All right, Starfleet Academy on top of other things, and I'm excited to talk about that too because I just finished the first season and really enjoyed it. So I'm curious to see what the comic's going to be about and all that. But the rules of the show, I gotta ask you both. Comics Coffee Metal, what have you both been digging lately? Let's go. I guess we'll go alphabetical. We'll start with LAYNE.
Oh wow, alphabetical. Gosh, Comics Coffee Metal. Well, I did just finally read for the first time, which feels like a sin. Woman of Tomorrow.
Okay.
Which was fabulous. I was on a plane and I picked it up and read the whole thing. That was fantastic. And then music. I don't do metal. I've not. Oh, that's a bad phrasing. I've never done metal. Which is also bad phrasing, but for other reasons. But I'm not anti-metal, so I'm curious to hear what your suggestions are because I'm open to exploring. But music-wise, I am like such a singer-songwriter girly. Like I love classic rock, and I grew up on 90s hip-hop, and so my like music kind of spans everything. But I'm usually in like a big singer-songwriter phase, or like I just went through a big Broadway like moment where I just needed to be belting all the time. So I've been listening to a lot of the Evita soundtrack. And then my favorite artist in the world, Dermot Kennedy, just put out a new album that's amazing. So I'm listening to that this week.
Awesome. I was going to ask, like, usually when someone doesn't listen to metal, my first question is, well, what's like the quote unquote heaviest thing like you've listened to that you really enjoy, that kind of like that you would think would fit in that realm, but it's not always necessarily the best gateway.
Yeah, I don't know, because there's like, I guess sort of the sort of 70s rock, your AC/DCs and your Led Zeppelins and your like, there's rock in that sense, a little bit of like Ghost. That's not 70s rock, obviously, but like, I'm a big My Chemical Romance fan, but I don't think that counts as hard.
I mean, it's hard to
same.
find a metal fan who doesn't at least like some My Chemical Romance stuff.
I love it.
There's plenty of crossover there. But you mentioned musical theater and stuff, and that immediately puts me to like a band like Nightwish.
Okay.
Which is, they call themselves symphonic metal storytelling.
I love that.
And their original sing Tarja is basically like a operatic type singer. And then they had a separate singer, Annette, who came a few years later, who definitely brought them more into like the hard rock kind of Evanescence type range of like stuff. But they still were very much like, they had albums that were like, concept albums and had, tell stories and things like that. And then their current singer, Floor Jansen, is just like the best of both worlds. I'll send you a link. There's a live performance with Floor of their song Ghost Love Score, which is like an 8-minute song or something like that. But it's like a very musical theater-esque type of song.
I love that.
And if you don't dig that, then you probably wouldn't like them at all. But I think you would.
I love like theatrical music. I love sort of when a band has like, this is not similar at all, but like, you remember, I don't know if you ever listened to like the Hush sound way back in the early 2000s. They had like a very theatrical energy to them, and like even like old school like fun. They had this sort of like I like when artists have a very like punchy and creative and eccentric like flow going on, regardless of the of the genre of music. So I'd be super interested in that.
They have a very popular cover of the Phantom of the Opera. Like that's puts you should put you of mind where they're kind of at with that. And you mentioned kind of like the singer songwriter type stuff. People will argue just because she does different genres and all that stuff, but like Poppy, the artist Poppy, has done a couple metal albums, and her latest one's really good. And she actually did a song that actually was like a legitimate hit with Amy Lee of Evanescence and Courtney LaPlante of Spirit Box, another band, two other bands I absolutely love, that I think really I think served as a good gateway for a lot of people to be like, oh wait, I can like this type of stuff too. And so like a band like Spirit Box, I think would definitely, at least be interesting for you, because Courtney, the singer, has amazing like growl type stuff, but is also a very good clean singer. And I like a lot of the lyrics. They're very poetic in my eyes. So
that's my biggest thing is lyrics. Like I need cool lyrics. So you said Spirit Box. What was the first one?
Poppy.
No, the first band.
Nightwish.
Thank you.
Nightwish. Yes. And I'll make sure I always try to send links when I can.
Brilliant.
For people, just because I just love sharing metal and infecting more people with the love of metal. Because I say this all the time. Metal, to me, metal is like comics. Like you can do whatever you want. It's a medium that you can just do so many cool things with. So yeah, I definitely I would say to check those out. And yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Are you a coffee person? Do you
I am a coffee person. Unfortunately, my taste in coffee is bad and boring. It's like, this was $14 at Target, and that's what's in my house right now. Skylar's way better at coffee. You can ask her. But actually, my editor on Star Trek was at my house recently, and she brought me a coffee that she really likes. That's got this like notes of fruity cereal or something, and it's delicious. And I literally ran out of it like 2 days ago and threw it out, so I don't have it. But I should have asked her what it was called. But it was fantastic. So shout out to Cass. And her coffee.
What was it called?
I don't know. That's the whole thing. I didn't ask her. I don't know. She brought it over, and it's delicious. And she was like, "It's supposed to taste like fruity cereal," which to me, I was like, "No, thank you." And then I drank it. And I was like,
good.
Okay, yeah, it's quite good.
Nice. How about you, Skylar? What have you been digging in those realms lately?
I am also not a big metalhead. I'm familiar with Poppy. I've liked Poppy stuff before, but I tend to be a little bit more in the rock, alt rock. I do like some singer-songwriter stuff. For working, I tend to be more EDM related stuff. So I've got lots of playlists that have virtually no lyrics and are just kind of like a vibe, that just kind of help me get into work headspace. But yeah, I think some of the stuff I've been listening to most lately has been like, I've been listening to some Stargazer. What else have I been listening to? Jadu Heart is a band I listen to a lot. They're kind of a little alt-rocky, indie. They do a little bit of synth stuff. I like a lot of old 60s, 70s music as well. I was raised by hippies, so lots of Creedence Clearwater and the Eagles and Rolling Stones. I kind of
sound so much blurred because you were raised by hippies, and my parents grew up in the 80s, so my mom's just like, it's just all 80s pop. Like
my parents, I feel like my parents don't really identify as hippies, but I feel like if you listen to them talk and Yeah,
that's
they were
right.
hippies, and they still are hippies, and like,
Yeah. Yes.
so it's there's a big
Yeah.
swath of music that I listen to, but
Mom's
I
like,
think
so anyway,
the
Air
one
Supply.
what the ones I think right now I'm listening to the most are I'm doing a lot of Stargazer and Jadu Heart, and I am a Florence and the Machine lover. I come back to her every time she puts something out. So those are kind of the big
Her new
ones
album,
right
listen to
now.
that a lot.
Hmm?
Her new album, we've been listening to that a lot.
Yeah, it's great.
I forgot she had a new album. I got to let my wife know because
I love Angry Florence, and this is Angry Florence. So
yeah, I think "Kiss with a Fist" is one of my wife's like favorite like all time
Yeah.
songs. Period.
The album's
so-
called Everybody Scream, right? Or is that just the single,
I don't remember actually.
the new one? The single she put out is called Everybody Scream, and
Yeah.
it's awful.
Well, Skylar, you mentioned listening to kind of like some EDM stuff and stuff while you work, and there's a couple bands I think that really kind of like merge into like the metal realm. I think with that kind of stuff, and that's Carpenter Brute and Dance with the Dead. Really cool synth stuff with it's very cinematic type stuff with guitars and synths and just something to easily get lost into. And another band is Master Boot Record, which uses like 90s PC gear to make all their music. And if you've listened to like the original Doom soundtrack from the 90s, like it's very much like that style, but much more modern and heavier, but still it's using that technology to kind of do it. It's kind of cool because when they're in concert, they have all these 90s PCs set up, and it's just like
that's so
Cool. Yeah.
and they have like drums and guitars and stuff to augment stuff, but they have that stuff playing off of there, and it's really, really cool. So if you're looking for stuff to kind of get work in and kind of get lost to, and has a little bit of like a metal flavor, like that stuff, definitely I would recommend.
And that was what was it called again?
Master Boot Record.
Master Boot Record. Okay.
Carpenter Brute and Dance with the Dead. Again, I'll make sure I send.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And just because I think someone's got a bingo card for me to mention the band Orbit Culture, which I don't think either one of you would enjoy. But all the time.
Here's a recommendation.
Sponsored post.
Orbit Culture, like you want just like heavy groove, low guttural singing, right? So check out Orbit Culture. But anyway, I just mentioned them way too much just because they're like one of my new favorite bands. But I'm not going to force them down everybody's throat. But yeah, I can't let a podcast go without mentioning them.
Amazing.
So how Layne mentioned you're more of the coffee aficionado. So what's your
Sorry, babe.
what's your daily driver for drinking?
I mean, I don't know that I would say I'm a coffee aficionado.
He knows things about coffee and I don't. So
I
she's an aficionado
know what
to
I
me.
like is the main thing. Like I tend to be like, I like a very strong coffee. I like a dark roast. I'm not always a black coffee drinker. Sometimes I am, sometimes not. I know some people can get pretty intense about whether they are black coffee drinkers or not. I am kind of an equal opportunity coffee drinker. If there's no cream, that's okay. If there is, that's cool too. My main thing is I just want it to be really strong. Like I want it to smack me in the face. So I wouldn't say that I know a lot about coffee as far as detecting notes and flavor profiles. I like dark chocolate flavors, caramel flavors. I want it bold, that kind of thing. So,
well, when I first started the show, I was actually getting kind of heavily into like just trying lots of different roasters, different kinds of blends, and trying to see, and lots of amazing, great stuff. But after a while, it's all kind of like, it's all kind of coffee.
Coffee.
somewhere there's a coffee aficionado, a real one, who's so mad.
Well, there's this one coffee guy on YouTube. Was it James Hoffman? I think he's like talking about $2,000 grinders and things like that.
That's crazy.
That's not me. I have like a $60 grinder I got just because
I feel
it was
that
on
way when
sale.
like even like when wine gets expensive. I'm like, I don't know, I could
Right.
do this for $40 and it would be like my fancy bottle is like $50 maximum.
Right. There's a market for obsession for everything. So
Oh yeah.
I can't say anything. I have very expensive baseball cards all around my apartment, but
What are you talking about obsessions? There's nothing
yeah,
going on
no,
with
I mean
me.
we're all nerds, so I can't judge anybody.
No, I could definitely be one of those people who like would be getting into the whole pour over thing and making sure everything's the right temperature. But for me, it's just like I can't make that step. Just like I can't like make that step with like starting to buy records. Like I know what's
Yeah.
going to end up for me. Like I
Right.
can't make that leap
Right.
yet.
I tend to be
But,
similar. Yeah. I like there's a certain boundary I have to give myself. So I'm like, I know the realm, the ballpark that I want to be in when it comes to the coffee I drink. But I don't want the $2,000 machine and
I mean, the only thing I'll ever say to anybody is like, you know, I can tell the difference. I notice the difference if I grind my beans before I brew it. But and I can and when we got an actual like the burr grinder and not the little sharp blade that spins up, I
Right.
noticed the difference.
I can
But
tell.
aside
Yeah,
from that,
I agree with that.
aside from that, I'm like, you know, I do like a dark roast. My wife prefers more of a medium roast, and so I like a medium roast too. We usually get ours from Rootless Coffee,
Okay.
out in Flint, Michigan, and recently had some really good stuff from Palestine Coffee Company
Nice.
that guest and but Ibrahim Mustafa recommended. And I'm not a real flavored coffee person. I don't like that stuff, but they had a baklava flavored one that was like, I'm like, oh well,
I
okay.
do love a baklava.
I like a baklava with my coffee.
Yeah.
That's why I like that. I love baklava, period. But
Yeah, pro baklava. Baklava.
and I'm definitely not a. I do cream and sugar.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's me. My wife
Half
can
and
do.
half, baby.
Yeah, my
I'm
wife
a
can do
weirdo and
just
will sometimes
black
put
or
heavy
yeah.
cream in. So
Oh, heavy cream's
I mean,
good.
that sounds great, actually.
Yeah.
You know, here in Massachusetts, the land of the freaks, we call it cream and sugar or regular.
All right.
Yeah. You go through the drive-through and you say, "Can I get a hot coffee regular?" And it's cream and sugar.
Okay.
Is
Just so you
in
know.
Massachusetts is I, you know, I know is it a big Dunkin' area over there as well?
Oh yeah. So today in politics, I guess RFK said that there's some chemical in Dunkin' Donuts coffee that he wants to destroy or snort or whatever. And our governor Maura Healey tweeted the "Come and Take It" logo with the Dunkin' Donuts
Incredible.
coffee.
Yes.
So like, this is the timeline we're in, guys. It's like, but
I mean, Dunkin'
yeah,
Donuts was the
everybody
first coffee that I
everybody was
liked.
just
Yeah.
yeah. She literally put on Blue Sky like everybody's like the thing, and all the comments were people doing like the "Don't tread on me" snake and like Dunkin'
Yeah.
Donuts colors. Like Massachusetts will go nuts. You don't fuck with the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. The whole ecosystem will implode.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, we're a big Dunkin' place, and fortunately, we're a big Dunkin' place. And I
Yeah.
like Dunkin'. Dunkin's so complicated. You know, normally I don't go on this rant, but we're supposed to talk about coffee, so I feel like I'm allowed.
Oh no, please do.
Dunkin' is complicated because I think people who didn't grow up with Dunkin' are like, why? It's not good coffee. And I am immediately like, oh, yeah, it's not supposed that you don't drink Dunkin' for the what? I didn't say you should go there for good coffee. I said go to Dunkin'. Like that's not the same thing. There's this sort of like Skylar knows because she visits here quite a bit. There's this like weird we live and enjoy our misery culture in Massachusetts that's like we're not sad about it. There's sort of just this like communal suffering we're all doing. And I think Dunkin's part of it. Where like you go there, you pay $2, you get the wateriest coffee you've ever had. It has 7 gallons of sugar in it. It's delicious in some strange way. And it's full of ice. And so you just drink it all day. The ice keeps melting and you don't notice it getting any more watery because it was water to start with. And you just go all day with your cup and you just, by the end of the day, you're like, this cup is part of my hand now. And it's like, it's a whole thing. You should have seen when they started charging for styrofoam because they used to put the styrofoam on the outside and people freaked out. because everybody is so used to their coffee feeling a certain way in their hand, like heaven forbid. It's just like it's part of the ecosystem. And I don't
I
think
mean, it is. Styrofoam is now part of.
well, yes, the styrofoam is part of the ecosystem. There is a Dunkin' from my house. If you drive less than 5 minutes, you can get to 11 Dunkin' Donuts.
Wow.
And
It's
And throw a stone and hit a Dunkin'.
oh yeah, yes.
I mean,
And
I
my go-to is a medium iced coffee, milk,
Mhm.
no sugar,
Mhm.
and a caramel swirl. And I never do a flavor, usually never do anything sweet, but Dunkin' coffee is so bitter and sewer watery that like you kind of can't not. You have to do like a little something sweet.
Well,
So
I,
that's my
I grew up in
recommendation.
Chicago, and we are filthy with Dunkins. Like it is, like maybe not 11 within a vicinity, but like there's definitely, I live north of Chicago, obviously. Even the suburb, it's like there's 2 within like a mile of my house right now,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
you know,
I have visited Chicago. I don't think it's quite as Dunkin' dense as
They're not as easy to like. You
Massachusetts,
turn the corner and there's a Dunkin'. And
growing up, they were.
but it's
There's a lot
it
more
counts.
before Starbucks came to town,
right.
before
Yeah.
other coffee shops came to town. It was definitely run on Dunkin' for sure, because you couldn't, like, I think, especially when I was going to high school, there's I think at least 4 within walking distance of my high school, for sure.
I used to have a teacher who would let you in late if you brought her a coffee too. You'd have to go to her side door, and you could if you had 2 coffees, she would just open it. She'd be like, "Come on in."
Amazing.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. She likes the blueberry coffee because I used to get it for her.
Blueberry coffee.
Oh yeah, it's a
Mm.
hit usually. It's a favorite. Yep,
Awesome.
Dunkin'.
Well, my favorite thing about Dunkin' is like you can just ask for cream and sugar with your coffee, and depends on which one you go to, you just get wildly different expectations of what cream and sugar is. So it's definitely an experience. But you know what? It's Dunkin'. Like you're not going there
It's
because
Dunkin'.
it's like,
Just don't worry
man, I
about
have
it.
such a taste for this. It's like, no, I need that liquid that makes me go. It's America runs on Dunkin', not America prefers Dunkin'. It's like, this is just the grease that keeps us going.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It's relinquish the control.
yeah.
So next, if you're ever in Massachusetts, all you can just say, I want a coffee, a regular,
Nice.
and you're good.
Oh,
You'll just get
what
cream and
about
sugar.
comics, Skylar? What have you?
It's like, shut up.
No, I have to stop
It's
because I will
coffee
keep
and
talking.
comics,
I will
okay.
keep talking about Dunkin' and I'll I could talk about how mochaccino, was it a mochaccino?
The
What were they called?
Dunkaccino. The
It
Dunkaccino.
wasn't Dunkaccino. It was a mocha frappe or something. I don't know. One of those like ruined one of my first ever cell phones because I picked it up for my now wife, but then girlfriend, and put it in my backpack for some reason to ride to her house, and it poured all over my nice little flip phone.
Aw.
I was like a month ago, I was explaining
I'm
the
going dumb
Dunkaccino
rants.
to Skylar. Have you had the Dunkaccino?
No.
Dunkaccino is hot chocolate and coffee mixed together.
Okay. Well, now it sounds like I need to try this now.
Yeah, I feel like that's just a good
Just experience it. It's just one of those things like, one of those things you got to do in your life just to experience it and just say, I did this.
Dunkaccino with milk, baby. Always ask for milk because if not, it will scald your face.
Well, that was the drink that I used to make, which, sidebar, I used to work in food service and did chocolate for a while. Was one of my.
It was a, and I quote, high-end chocolatier.
I worked at a chocolate place that did drinking chocolates. And so it was sort of historical recipes that were adapted to fit, the ingredients that we had on hand here. And so we did a variety of different ones. Some had dairy in them. Some were dairy-free, dark chocolates, spices, chilies, fenugreek, like all kinds of stuff went into these drinking chocolates. With the background being, it's sort of, there was a medicinal quality to chocolate. There was brain just turned off. There was the medicinal qualities and the culinary aspects to chocolate, and kind of elevating it beyond just your basic Swiss Miss. And so we had these very complicated recipes. And one of them that we did was the Mayan. And it was 100% dark chocolate with chilies and a variety of different spices added into it. And it was freaking incredible. And it was spicy. And so it was a half Mayan, half coffee in the morning that I would drink. And just be vibrating through the morning, through my shift. But yeah, I was like, chocolate and coffee should go together. And also maybe they shouldn't, because you get your caffeine and your theobromine, and your nervous system is, all your blood vessels open up and you're just going crazy.
Oh, that sounds like an amazing experience, to be honest.
You know, it was good and bad.
See, this is why I had to do the hard pivot to comics, because we're going to keep talking about this random.
Yeah,
hobby
we
stuff,
can talk
right?
about coffee forever, I guess.
Yeah. So, but yeah, how about comics? I know when you're in the throes of making them, it's hard to actually read them and get time to do that. But have you? Made any
Unfortunately,
time,
that
or
is my
chance?
answer. I feel like I have been doing more work lately than I've been reading. I've been making more comics than I've been reading recently. So I don't have a recent one that I have actually read, which is shameful on my part. Trying to think of the one that I read most recently, and I think it's been a hot minute. So wear the cone of shame.
If it wasn't for me having to do this show, forcing myself to do this show, I probably wouldn't be reading at nearly as much either. I'd be in the same boat, just like, but
Yeah, I used to read all the time when I worked comics retail. So I was always kind of checking out new stuff, and I had my finger on the pulse a lot better than I do now, unfortunately. But I'm always trying to keep an eye on what people are doing, and friends and peers in the industry. And even if I'm not fully reading them, trying to support them. So
yeah, that's the fun part that I have with this show, is just that I've got to meet so many people who make comics, and just by chance they make some really great comics. So it's not like I'm like, oh man, I can't read any like other comics I want to read, because I'm getting exposed constantly to stuff that I normally probably wouldn't pick up initially. But since I'm like, okay, well, let me read it for the show, I've heard about this, let me check this out. It's just like, well, now I've got like a new favorite thing because of just happenstance of just doing this and forcing myself to kind of expand my view and expand what I'm reading and all that. So it's because if it was up to me, like if I stick with my old habits, I'd still be reading just like the big two stuff. We're probably mostly Marvel and all that. And now whenever I try to pick up that stuff, no offense to any of it at all, I'm sure it's great, and some people have a lot of great things to say about it, but for me it's like it's not for me anymore, which is fine too.
I mean, there's so many different things that available now, and I think Kickstarter makes that possible. Like there's so many more stories now available because we've got various crowdfunding platforms that help us get those books made. So there's so much more than Cape stories. As somebody who draws and loves a Cape story, I also am always wanting to know what people are doing outside of that,
Sorry,
Also,
my cats are doing something. I don't know what, but I don't know if you guys just heard my whole kitchen fall apart. You just saw me suddenly make a face like I was in a twister. It's because they were already over here knocking over shit. They knocked over my beads, and I picked that up, and then they ran over there and knocked over something else in mid conversations. I don't know what's happening.
We stopped talking about coffee. That's what happened.
They need the coffee talk.
Nice. Coffee only. But when they did knock over the beads, I was pulling out my books I just got in the mail pile to see if there was anything exciting. I did just have the Woman of Tomorrow that I literally just read. But then also Fun Home. That's Skylar's cover. Funeral Home. Sorry, Funeral Home. It's not really Fun Home. It's that's Michelle and Fellhound. Michelle Ebenator.
Oh yeah, Michelle's practically, she's been on the show 6, 7 times.
Oh wow, I didn't know she'd been on that.
Wow, incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, she's practically.
My cats just came over and knocked her comic into our conversation. So thank you, cats.
I just need to make her a co-host at this point.
Amazing, love that.
But no, Michelle's great. And I have not read Funeral Home. I want to call it funeral
Funeral
home.
home?
A funeral home. It's sitting in my digital to read pile, for sure. But no, and and to say, Skylar, DC is a huge blind spot for me in a lot of stuff. So there is a lot of stuff like the Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow book, and all kinds of stuff like Sophie Campbell's Supergirl. Like there's tons of stuff that I want to read from there. It's just like, for me, it's like, Marvel stuff is just kind of like, I had my time with the X-Men. I had my time with the Avengers. It's past. It's for someone else now, So I do try to keep that in mind for myself when I am looking for stuff to read. And I'm definitely trying to make more of a point this year to read stuff not out of necessity because I want to.
Right.
But yeah, all that stuff is definitely on my list to get to as well. But speaking of making comics, both of you have a really cool looking comic coming out with White Ash called Run. And from what I remember, there's a really cool backstory to this. So if you could indulge us a little bit and talk about Run for a bit and how that all came to be.
Sure.
Yeah, Run. First of all, I literally just hung Skylar's cover art behind me. She gave me this for Valentine's Day. That's her original.
Some bloody art for Valentine's Day.
I mean, wasn't it like one of our first dates? We watched a horror movie, and then one of our first in-person dates, or it might have been Valentine's Day again. When did we watch It Follows?
I don't remember, but yeah,
I think we watched It Follows on a date night. Our first date night, we watched Fear Street.
There's some horror and stuff in all of our early dating. Horror media.
And now there's horror in the late dating. It's just different horror. It's us hanging out and we try to play a video game and then I just vomit because the horrors.
Backstory was she was playing Fallout and
turns out first person, not for me. But that is not our interesting backstory. The interesting backstory of Run is how Skylar and I met originally. Or I guess Charlie Stickney of White Ash fame is how Skylar and I met originally. I was running around the internet being like, what if I made comics? I don't know. And Charlie kindly,
we all get into comics.
What'd you say?
Yeah, that's how we all get into comics.
Right. I was like, and I was really cautious to not be that person who's like, my TV show should be a comic book just because I can't get it made for a TV. So I was like, not doing that. I was just like, comics are interesting. I was hitting this point sort of after the TV industry had been kind of failing for a while and we had just hit the strike. And I was like, I kind of hit this point where I was like, storytelling for me isn't fun if I'm not engaging with people. Like I'm not one of those like cool people who's like, just do it for yourself. Like, I don't want to do it for myself. I want to share it. I want to like, it's an activity that like is social for me. And so I was like, if I'm not going to be able to make TV with any frequency, then I want to do something that I can make with frequency. And so I started kind of sniffing around the comics world, and Charlie very kindly was like, I can help you with this, and just started talking to me about it, which I really, really appreciated, because I think it's easy for comics people, understandably, to be like, you don't just get to walk in. Like, it doesn't work like that. But he was really kind, and I had told him about a pilot script that I had and how I did actually want to try to make it a comic if it suited for a comic. And he looked at it and he was like, who should draw this? Skylar Patridge. And I was like, I don't know who that is because I don't know anything about comics. And so I looked her up and she already followed me, which was thing that I didn't know. But I looked her up and then looked up her stuff, and I was really excited about her stuff. I was, just seeing covers on Google Images because like I truly had no idea what to even like. I wouldn't have even thought to like click on her portfolio. Like I was so new to this. And I just cold DM'd Skylar on Twitter, which is extra funny because if you know Skylar and anyone cold DMs her about a project, she gets really mad. Skylar's like, send an email. I lose track of stuff. Anyway, so I cold DM'd Skylar and I was like, hey, you don't know me. Charlie says you should draw my comic.
It was more articulate than that.
Is a crazy
Yeah.
crazy approach, but I rolled with it. And she was very kind and professional, and we communicated for a bit, and I ended up sending her the script, and she liked the script, and then we went through this long period of like, are we flirting or are we friends? We were doing gay people stuff.
She's
And
just being nice.
yes, of like lots of being nice and trying to figure out what was flirting, and we were both like really scared to like be the person who was being creepy in a professional setting, and so we like danced around it for a really, really long time. Then we never ended up making the book. We pitched the book. I pitched the book to one publisher, and they came back with, I'll get back into this later, but they came back with like the one note that annoys me for this book. And so I just immediately was like, forget it. I don't want to do it. I just don't want to pitch to anybody. This is my thing. I'm just going to sit on it. And so we started talking about it stuff. We never made the book. And then what was it, like a year or two later, we were like, we should just try to make Run again. Like, why didn't we do that? At that point, we were comfortably dating, and we ended up going to Charlie and telling him about it. And he somehow didn't know for like a good long while that we were together and that he had introduced us. And it was like a whole thing. But we ended up bringing it to him, and he was in the process of looking to expand White Ash to publish other people's work. And so it kind of felt like the right serendipitous move, since he introduced us, for him to publish the book. And so, yeah, we're working on it. Although I'm curious, Skylar, if you have any other perspective onto that story, because I feel like you just got cold DM'd about a book.
No, I mean, I feel like I was very happy to see your name pop up in my DM. That was before
she
Twitter
was
broke.
following
It
you
was
before,
It was
Layne.
apparently already following me. Yeah, this is before Twitter got weird.
Yeah, it was when Twitter was still halfway. I mean, it was still kind of hard to be in, but it was still pleasant compared to what it became. But yeah, no, I feel like that's a pretty fair and accurate reenactment of our meeting. So yeah, I think it's accurate to say, and I've said it many times, like I was so afraid to move from professional into personal, because that was how our conversation started. I think comics is an industry that can be, it's a very it's a small industry, and you're working very closely with your collaborators. And so kind of understanding your boundaries and what is friendship versus what is professional, like figuring out what those are is very important. And so I was very afraid of getting off on the wrong foot and just tripping right out of the gate. And so I think I was overly cautious going in and overly professional going in, because we had started discussing this from a purely professional approach, and then it kind of became something else.
Yeah. And I think in a weird way, it ended up being kind of a blessing that I didn't really know the industry, because I had a lot less caution, which helped us. Like I had a lot less, like, I didn't think to not cold DM an artist and say, can you draw my book? Unfortunately, because I didn't really know what I was getting into, I was just able to step in it, and it was charming and not weird, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so now we're making Run, and Run is a story that's existed for me for a really, really long time. Actually, originally came up with the characters with my very good friend Liz, my best friend from we met on the internet a million years ago, and we've been friends for a long time. And I was like spitballing with her once about like wanting this like toxic female friendship thing. And so one of the characters in Run, Danny, the like lead character, is Latina, because Liz had like dreamt her up, and Liz is Latina. And so there's a lot of love for Liz sort of in the story, because she originally helped me with it, but it was something that just existed. And I ended up having to write a pilot really fast one week, and I was like, I'm just going to use that thing that Liz and I were talking about. And so I just spit this pilot out and ended up really attached to it. And moving it over into comics actually felt really smooth and easy and fun. And it's I tell people that it's sort of a pastel-y teen drama, but with blood and guts. Like it's Dawson's Creek meets Red Dawn. It's Friday Night
Okay.
Lights in the zombie apocalypse.
Nice.
And people always really flinch when I say zombies, and that's sort of
Mhm.
where that's the one note that you can't give me or I'll get really annoyed. I send it to a publisher, and the publisher goes, "Oh, sorry, we don't do zombies. Can it be something else?" Because that's the thing. And I just one, I'm really angry about the fact that for some reason, because someone was very successful at zombies, we can now never do zombies. I'm like, shouldn't that suggest we should do lots more?
Mhm.
Two, as a massive, no offense to The Walking Dead whatsoever, as a massive fan of the zombie genre who has not engaged much with The Walking Dead, I'd like to explore the zombie genre. It means something to me. Train to Busan is one of my favorite films of all time. Night of the Living Dead
Oh
is one of my
yes,
favorite films of all time.
1000%.
I love zombie
I love that
movies. I
movie so
love what
much.
they
Yes,
do. Sorry,
I love that movie so much. It's
Train
great.
to Busan.
Yes,
I
yes.
gotta get Skylar to watch it. We keep me, it's on our list because
I've been
she
wanting
hasn't
to
seen it yet.
cosplay as Don Lee's character
Hell yeah.
for so long, but like no one else is gonna get it. If I just
For
walk
you.
around my
It's,
forearms taped
yeah,
up.
it's such a beautiful film.
Yeah,
It's an exceptional film.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and I felt like girls never get to do zombie stuff. Like I wanted something that felt hack and slashy, but with girls, that
Mhm.
wasn't meant to be funny or cute or, it's female led. Like I said, it's very like Dawson's Creek. It could be Friday Night Lights.
Mhm.
It's about a co-ed track team that goes to a party and hides in the basement, set in 2012, and the world the world ends. Someone drops a bomb on California and they emerge from their lake house and everyone is a zombie. And now you have this sort of weird political tension amongst a bunch of 17, 18-year-olds in their senior year, trying to learn how to survive the apocalypse. And it's not just zombies. There's a lot more to the plot and the lore than that. There's, who orchestrated the bombs and who, there's a bunch of other stuff going on. The world gets much bigger from where it starts. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's my pastel zombie book. And as soon as I saw Skylar's art, I was just like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
Charlie's 100% right. That's who should draw this book. And so she's in the art process now. The script has existed for a while, but we're in the art stage, and it's really exciting.
One of my favorite like quotes about any type of like media creation or creative creation is I believe it's from Roger Ebert, and it was when he was talking about how he reviews movies, and it's like it's not what the movie is about, it's how it is about it. Because and all I think this was in like his rebuttal about giving like a Justin Bieber concert film like 3.5 stars or something, because he's like, it's still a like I don't care about Justin, but it's still a well-made film.
Yeah.
And I kind of like I like that mindset for everything, because yeah, zombies, but like what there's so much more to that. Like zombies are a problem in the book, yes, but like there's so much more that goes on that makes that more
It's not
important.
a zombie book, it's a teens figuring out what leadership looks like book. Like that's what it's about.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what stood out to me when you first reached out and sent the script along, was that you approached it with such an earnestness that I think can often, and this is not a negative to your campy zombie movies. Like I love a campy horror movie. But I think that what felt different about Layne's approach to it was its earnestness, and that the contagion element is a springboard into a much broader world with much more complicated issues to explore. But yeah, I think that very much this is a familiar genre with a different approach that I think will appeal to a lot of people.
Awesome. I'm definitely interested. I don't, I love a good zombie movie too. I'm tempted to ask like what are your top, what's on your Mount Rushmore of zombie flicks?
Those were my
Obviously,
my two. The Train to Busan and Night of the Living Dead.
I mean, I would definitely second Night of the Living Dead. That is, I love that movie so much.
You really like that other one that I haven't seen yet, which is like a massive gaping hole for me that you always reference, because we need to watch that and Train to
Which
Busan.
one?
Is it Return of the Living Dead?
No,
I do
it's,
love Return of the Living
is it
Dead.
World
That's
War
my
Z?
favorite.
No, what's the
Speaking
one
of campy zombie movies.
Yeah.
I can't think of the one that you're always talking about. I did just read. I've read it. I've read it twice, but I just reread. The guy who wrote World War Z, which I also just read.
Oh, the
Max
Zombie
Brooks.
Survival Guide.
Zombie Survival
yeah.
Guide. Yeah,
Yeah, that one's
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I read World War Z and I really loved that and was
Mhm.
super disappointed by the approach the movie took. But you
The
know
book
that
is fabulous.
yeah, and I'm more of a Dawn of the Dead person than Night of the Living Dead, but that's
Okay.
that's splitting hairs.
Yeah.
It's still both great movies, for sure. And I'm curious because my own book, it's about female rock and roller who wants to just do her band, but she's also a Van Helsing, so she has to usurp the mantle of killing vampires. But it's not about vampires so much as
Right.
it's about like her dealing with it.
Mhm.
And because I'm not a vampire fan, really, like mainly because most vampires are like the romantic interview Anne Rice vampires. I'm like, that's boring to me. I like the weird little freaks.
You're not. I need a Salem's Lot Barlow.
yeah, exactly. I need and I get to but since it's my book, I get to do whatever I want with them. So
Right.
was there
Right.
anything with like the zombies or anything like that you kind of like got to like go off of expectation for, or little tweaks you did to that, if you can share them? I don't know if there are anything that are considered spoilers or anything like that are considered your own takes on what the zombies can't do.
We're actually making a small sort of narrative pivot, I guess, away from, and this is bad because I talk in every interview and call them zombies, but
Mhm.
I think the thing that's going to be most non-zombie like about our zombies is that we're kind of going for they're not zombies, which is, I realized, I was like, so this is my zombie book and they're not zombies. And poor Skylar, when we first started it, she was like, it'll be really cool to design zombies. And then like 2 meetings in, we were like, what if they just look like people?
Well, I feel like that's kind of what I was going to answer the question
Yeah.
with is
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, like I wasn't I think I kind of brought that up as like, well, what
Yes.
if they didn't? So I kind of chopped off my own leg to get to
Yeah,
design.
you were excited, and then you ruined your own
But
excitement.
then I had, the whole like, well, what about the narrative? And so I think that is the slightly different approach, is that it is kind of like this is a weak tie, but maybe to give it an example, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where they look like us, but there's a tell.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this trying to get a sense for what we want to do with them and have them feel a little different, but still recognizable as part of the genre. I feel like I'll let Layne talk a little bit more about it, because I think you've spent a little bit more time in that as far as scripting goes. But I think, we were kind of trying to approach it from what if it's not super obvious right away? What if it takes time to realize something is wrong versus like, oh, there's suddenly ravenous people running down the streets? What if it's the slow burn of things starting to seem off, things not seeming what they should be, and build from there?
The people that they first meet are a little bloodthirsty and maniacal. It's certainly not like a slow burn into things are bad, but like when someone gets bitten, you might not know. I think something that Skylar had sort of pitched when we talked about it was sort of just making it this like really, really subtle thing where there's just like one cue. And part of why that really appealed to me is because I think the thing I love about the zombie genre is zombies are, since the creation of the zombie genre, they're a metaphor. Like, I don't want to like overthink it, but it's like the whole point is the metaphorical symbolism and what we're doing. And so I really liked the idea of like, this book is set in 2012 and it's supposed to be in this kind of right before the world went to total shit politically, for what we're experiencing now. And so I wanted this feeling where, what does it mean when you wake up and you can't trust your neighbors, and someone you thought was safe is not safe, and your dad is the bad guy. And this like this sort of, I kind of wanted to like bottle capture that feeling that we're sort of experiencing socially and politically now in a much more like immediate sense, where like you're walking down the street, and granted, the world has been blown up. Like everybody knows they're in crisis. It's not a surprise. But the feeling that like if I meet a guy on the street, I don't know if he's safe or not. And that's terrifying. You don't, and that's what it feels like a lot in modern politics in modern America. You walking on the street, you're in a gas station, you're like, I don't know if the man I just ran into is dangerous or not. And I'm gonna find out. And so therein sort of we wanted to have these people be a bit more subtle, where, you know, you're having to, one, not know if they're safe, and two, then you have to fight and kill people who look just like your loved ones and your friends. And you know, sort of there's a much harsher reality, I think, when they're not just like bah.
Right. Yeah. There's a dehumanizing element to the original zombie idea, you know, where they're deteriorating and their ears are falling off, and you know, it's easier to separate yourself from that versus that looks like my neighbor. So
it's almost like you're giving them a mercy as opposed to like, you know, legitimately just killing another human being. I think that's a fantastic spin on it to do that. You know, you know, it reminds me of one of my favorite horror movies, you know, the Thing, where like you don't know, but if there's a small little like there's a tell, but like, you know, in the context of like being a teen and everything in the whole entire world is garbage at the time, and everything's just terrible. Like just adding all that extra suspense to it, I think that's a fantastic take on doing a zombie, because then, like you said, it changes. Like, what is it about? What is it really about?
Right.
You know.
Well, and I think the movie that you might have been talking about, Layne, before was The Cure, or Cure. Does that sound familiar to you? Which was, I want to say, a 2016, 2017 movie. It had Elliot Page in it and a few other people. UK zombie movie, but it was what happens if they cure it and these people revert back to their human selves, having done atrocious things. And I thought that was a really fantastic kind of turning the genre on its head of, you did these horrible things that maybe you don't remember, but you know, the mind pockets things away and things come out in bursts, and you remember these horrible things that you did, but also had no control over your body at that point. Just the psychology that comes after when you thought the world ended. And so I think that, you know, kind of using that as a little bit of a vehicle for Run 2 is kind of where I was coming from with the, well, what if our zombies look like us?
That's awesome. And I've never heard of that movie. I'll have to add it to my list.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty good. Like, I don't know that I would necessarily sit here saying that it's an amazing movie. I enjoyed it, but I think the thing that spoke most to me was that inversion of the story of it's the world didn't end. We actually beat it. We eradicated it. There was a cure, and then what? And so I think that's always one of those things, especially in horror movies, that I'm interested when somebody approaches that aspect of like, well, they fought the bad guy, they fought the monster, they fought the demon, then what? Like, what happens after all of that, you know? The psychological fallout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So you mentioned that Run had kind of had its infancy with being like a pilot script for a show, and being someone who's had to adapt essentially a shooting script into a comic before, what was that process like for you? Like, did you kind of like rewrite it as a comic book script, or did you work with Skylar and and anybody else to kind of like hammer it into that kind of format? Or what was that conversion like?
Fortunately, because of the way everything lined up, where we didn't end up doing Run until quite a bit later, I had gotten to write a couple comics before doing that. Charlie hired me to do my first book, which was also with him, and I did his Galarian Thane one shot. And so Charlie kind of taught me the quick ropes, and it's quite a similar medium in my opinion. I think specifically for me, I'm a very visual writer, and so it's made scripting comics quite simple for that. But obviously there's a whole process in changing, different beats don't land the same way in TV and in comics. And so that's been the biggest thing, is trying to determine what's impactful on the page versus what's impactful on the screen, and what's going to be emotional and cool and devastating, and making sure, we hit the right things. There's the opening scene of Run, which will be in the ash can that we're putting out, is one of the final scenes in the pilot, because in the pilot, it's like when I was trying to structure a comic script, you're like, the pilot lives with these like teenagers in their regular high school life for quite a bit before the world ends, and no one wants to read that comic. Like, you just like, it doesn't work the same in a comic. So the comic definitely starts a bit more in the action, and I think that will be for better or for worse. It's going to have a bit less of the longer pining teen drama that I would like it to have. I definitely will still have more of it. I think we're really trying to, that's one of the things that Charlie and I have talked a lot about, is he is reminding me that like soap doesn't always land the same on the page as it does on the screen. But I really do want to try to pull in those really earnest elements and those really soapy elements, and like letting characters sort of pine and stare and slow down. And that's the benefit of working closely with an artist like Skylar, who's able to bring, who's able to sort of co-build the story with me right now as we adapt it, because one, she is incredible, and two, we don't have a publisher telling us that we have to limit it, and so there is a little bit of room for us to be like, well, let's just have them stare at each other for a few panels, like, so part of it is me trying to make sure that it fits into beats that are exciting and page turns that are exciting. And then part of me is wanting to make sure that I think it still, in a weird way, lands like a TV show, which I think might be insulting to people who really dig comics. But I'm like, a huge part of what I set out to make this project and the dream for it for me was that I feel like major TV fandom, the sort of the people who love your soapy teen shows and stuff, they don't read a ton of comics, and so I wanted something that those people would also be able to be like, oh, if we're not going to get media elsewhere because CW doesn't exist anymore and the WB doesn't exist anymore, where can we still watch that kind of content? And so I wanted to make a comic that sort of felt like the marrying of those things. So it's been an interesting journey to try to find what about it is traditionally comic booky and what about it is traditionally television, and marrying those things together. Sorry, that was a really long answer to what could have been.
No, it's great. I like hearing that perspective of it, because I've definitely I was definitely one of the people who are like, they're different mediums, blah, blah, blah. But the more I think about it, and the more I've having to have that kind of experience with like, okay, this is a shooting script, I have to make this into a comic. Like, how do I, there's no page turns here. There's no, beats here that I can like hook on a thing, and working with all of that, but it also made me realize that like, film, TV, and comics, they're all around the same age, in terms of like people doing them. So to me, it only makes sense that we're borrowing from each other, some of these ideas and these concepts, especially, 100+ years in of these things actually just existing for mass consumption for people. So I don't view it as much as I don't view it at all as a kind of like a negative when someone's like, oh, I want to make it more cinematic, I want to make it more like a TV drama, like I want to have that feeling, because that's just an influence. It's not like you're trying to make the comic a TV show, because I think we've all read those comics that were, oh, you literally just made a TV show into a comic and you put no effort into the comic part. Clearly there's tons of effort into the comic part. So, it's just like, okay, so now it just has that flavor of this. So it's going to be a little different. It's going to have something for those people who are missing those WB, CW shows, who want to have some of that, that feeling, that they're not getting right now from anything. So I think that's awesome. And I'm really looking forward to checking out Run when it launches.
It's interesting too, I think, having. Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And is Run planned to be an ongoing? Is it like right now like a limited? I'm sorry. Is Run intended to be a limited series, or is it like as long as we can do this right now situation?
I think you're still delay.
I mean, I would like it to go on forever. There's still a delay, but it's fine. I would like for Run to go on forever. I will probably have to ask my artist partner how she feels about that. But, in a perfect world, it's intended to be ongoing. I want it to have that long soapy feeling where you get to stay with people for a long time and watch the relationships and watch the characters develop. I think that's something that's missing from both modern TV and modern comics, frankly, outside of the big two. I think there's, much more of a push for shorter seasons and shorter series and these shorter arcs, which is all well and good in the prestige of it all. But I like when things feel like a telenovela. Grew up watching soap operas. I love telenovelas. I like to, X-Men goes on forever. Like Batman goes on forever. Like I like things where you get to just watch people build and grow and all of that stuff. So ideally we'll actually write it until we die.
Awesome.
You heard it here
Which
first,
could be tomorrow. You don't know.
I hope I don't die.
Well, I don't want to keep you on both too much longer. It's getting late and all that, but I would be remiss if I don't mention the stuff you're also both currently working on. Layne, you're working on Starfleet Academy. Remember the name this time.
Yes.
And Layne, you're working on Superman Superboy, I believe was the title, or
Skylar.
Skylar's doing Superboy.
What did I say? I'm sorry. I'm
sorry. I'm dying. You're not
right.
here.
What did I say though? I don't even remember what I said.
You called me Layne.
Oh, sorry. So sorry.
It's all good. I am working on Action Comics right now with DC, with Mark Waid writing, and Ivan Placencia on colors. And we are actually building towards the summer event right now. So that's what I've been working on lately. Also developing Run, and then getting back to Our Sins Are Scarlet, which was the Kickstarter I did prior to Run with Jordan Alseca. And so that will be coming back. We're aiming to get back on production probably early summerish around there. So those are the big three right now for me.
Awesome. And you're getting, to rightfully work with, a legend, Mark Waid, on Action Comics. Like that's just like, it feels like, one of those, like, even if someone who's like, I don't know if I ever want to draw Superman. It's like, do you want to work on Action Comics with Mark Waid? It's like, yes.
It's kind of one of those, somebody came knocking and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Okay. I'll do that.
And I've absolutely had that moment while doing it where I'm like, this is like 10-year-old me is losing her mind about, and I didn't know who Mark Waid was when I was 10, but my point being like drawing Action Comics with somebody who is renowned for writing Superman and the supers, like, it's definitely bucket list stuff. And it's been really, I've been learning a lot. I feel like it's been pushing me artistically, narratively. And because I feel like, big two Cape stories, I draw them and just typically they're drawn a little differently than say if I'm working on an indie book. You want the big action beats, like figuring out where to make moments sing in a Cape story versus where to make a moment sing in, say, Run. They are going to feel different, and I might approach them differently. And so kind of learning, it's a different game within the same field. Yeah. And so kind of expanding and stretching my legs there has been very cool and very challenging, but in a positive way. So. And
you asked and answered the question I was going to say, wondering the difference between, the mindset of working on those books. Is there anything you've kind of feel like you've like leveled up on at some point working on any of the books lately? Because I think it's important for artists and writers to like kind of stop and think like, you know what, I am doing this better now, or I'm really liking how I'm doing this right now, because we can beat ourselves up so easily with
For
other
sure.
things.
Yeah.
So
I think I have gotten better at action. As somebody who, like, when I go into any story, I'm always looking for the emotional through line, whether it's Superman or whether it's, you know, Scarlet stuff, my own work. So I'm very much motivated by making it clear where the characters are emotionally. And so I feel like I really enjoy drawing conversation. I really enjoy some of the stuff that some people hate drawing, because I like showing the body language. I like the expressions. I like kind of the study of the characters while I'm drawing them. And so I think I came into Action Comics with that in my back pocket, but needing more work and more practice, really selling big action beats, motion, superpowers, like figuring out how to show that he's moving quickly without it seeming, you know, janky or weird, you know, like trying to figure out how to sell superpowers, and make them feel like my own work without just regurgitating somebody else's work. It's definitely been, I think the action has been a big lesson for me in trying to get better at punching and all of the stuff that you associate with Superman. Like, so that, I guess that would be my big thing, has been learning how to draw a punch, how to draw him flying, and all of the stuff you associate with Superman.
nice. Awesome. Glad to hear you're feeling like you're
I think I'm leveling up. I hope I'm leveling up.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Layne, you're working on Starfleet Academy. Were you always a big Star Trek person, or is this kind of something that just kind of like was an offer and you're like, let's do this?
Yeah. It was super random. I got coffee with Heather Antos at IDW, who we had a general meeting, and I was going to pitch her some stuff, and you know, I obviously had previously worked on Legacies, which she knew. I'd mostly done YA TV stuff before that, and we were just sitting there having coffee, and she just goes, "Do you want to write Star Trek?" And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Starfleet Academy." Like, she just kind of like lobbed it over the table to me, and I was like, "Yeah, kinda." She was like, "Yeah, they're doing like a, you know, high school vibe, teen drama vibe. I feel like you'd be really suited for it." And I was really excited, but also really intimidated by the prospect of Star Trek, just because I know it has such a passionate fan base, and I knew nothing, like not a single thing. But like, I'm also a big nerd, and I love a research project and to get to understand something. And so I watched a bunch of the original series. I watched a bunch of Next Generation. I then watched the new Strange New Worlds show, and then I haven't gotten into a bunch of the other ones yet, but I kind of did the ones that I felt like I needed for Starfleet, which were, like I said, the original Next Generation, and then the new Strange New Worlds. And then at the time, they just sent me the Starfleet scripts. I've been able to watch the show with everybody else, but I was given all the scripts a while back. So I was just so excited, and because it's exactly my kind of thing. But yeah, it was totally random, and now I'm a Star Trek person. Like, I loved it. It wasn't homework. I really enjoyed the show. I have like opinion. I have a favorite captain now. Like, I'm like, I was going to
ask, do you have a favorite captain? Who's your favorite captain?
I do. And I had a favorite captain. I'm going to be real honest. I had a favorite captain. I had opinions. 5 episodes into the original series, I was like, my favorite captain is Pike. I loved the original Weird pilot. I loved it so much. And like that, like no one like didn't like they have like Pike, and then Pike
Yeah.
doesn't exist anymore, and then it's
Yeah.
Kirk.
Yeah.
And I got like 5 episodes in, and I was like, where'd Pike go? I was so mad.
And
And
then
so
he's
now
back
he's
in,
like
yeah.
my pocket captain. I like loved
Yeah.
him. And then Heather was like, don't worry, you're gonna really like Strange New Worlds. And I
Yeah.
was like, but I wanted that guy. I wanted that one dude.
Yeah.
But I now like I just became a Pike fan because of that, because I was just sad about that original pilot that I really liked. But yeah, but I loved the original series a lot. I also liked Next Generation. I have no beef with it. I just, the original series was like my sort of my first foray into the older ones, and then I loved Strange New Worlds, and I think Strange New Worlds was really accessible for someone who doesn't have the sort of same nostalgic love for everything, to sort of watch something a little more modern that still felt like the spirit of the other two shows that I had seen. So I really loved Strange New Worlds, and I'm absolutely adoring Starfleet. And
Yeah, I grew up with Next Generation. That was my Star Trek. You know, I'd watched some of it. Like I remember going to the movies with the original cast with my older brothers. A couple of later movies, but yeah, Next Generation was definitely mine. And then I kind of fell off because I really wasn't into Voyager or Enterprise. And then I just, Strange New Worlds I have not gotten to, but I've heard nothing but love for it from people. And then the only other Star Trek media I was engaging with recently was Lower Decks, which is like just amazing. Like as a Next Generation, kid, like oh, this was made for me. Like this is like all the jokes, and like even though there's other stuff, you don't need to know all the lore. It's just such a great show. But then I'm like, you know what? Let me give this Starfleet. Let me give these new kids a shot. And I really ended up loving the show a lot. I was really surprised. And, you can't have like Tig Notaro in something and me not be like, well, this is not at least entertaining while she's around at the very least.
The adult cast is bonkers.
Yeah. Holly
and I
Hunter's
love
just
that they
amazing.
did all sort of unknowns with the younger cast to complement it. I think it was really smart.
Yeah. My only nitpick was with the weird voice stuff they're doing with Dak. Was it Dax? Dak, the Klingon character.
Jaden?
Why am I saying Dak? That's what my problem. I don't know.
There's Darum. There's
Darum.
your
I know.
Darum's
Yeah.
Keone.
How am I thinking Dak? But with Jaden. For some reason, I think I don't. They put this like weird vocal effect on his voice, like they didn't. That I don't think they usually did it with Klingons before. But I get there's other stuff. And some of the cadence in which he was speaking was kind of distracting, but still, I'm a sucker for a good Klingon character, and he's great.
Yeah,
he's
wonderful.
Character. Yeah, especially towards the end of the season, it's just like the stuff they're seeding with him and all that is great, and you can't go wrong.
He's a big focal point of the comic. It's
I was going to ask, like, is there a spot for him? Like a spotlight.
It's an ensemble book. It's an ensemble arc. But it's that I feel comfortable saying that the primary focus is Genesis and Jaden, because our special cover is just the two of them. So I feel like everybody's figured that out by now. But yeah, Liana Kangas did a cover. It's like the B or the C cover, and it's just the two of them. But it's a sort of they go on a away mission for a lesson that goes horribly wonky, and the two of them are kind of having a as is thematically always a thing for me, they're having a bit of a battle of leadership and trying to decide. And it's Genesis, it's mostly a Genesis series, but Jaden's definitely also driving the boat quite a bit.
And just I had to double check. Dax was on my mind because that character shows up. Spoiler, sorry for anyone's watched it, but like the Trill Dax shows up later this year, and I'm like that's for some reason that was just stuck in my brain.
Daxing somewhere,
So it was great, and you can't go wrong with Paul Giamatti being just a sleazebag.
Oh my god, he's so crazy.
Like so you just can't go wrong with that. But no, it's great. I'm definitely looking forward to, trying to delve into at least some of the Star Trek, because I've known too many people who have done work on Star Trek books and comics, and I'm just like, I have a buddy, Gavin Smith, who's done like a ton of Star Trek, and like,
Mhm.
I just need to like get off my ass and read some of this stuff. But now I got a fresh start with Starfleet Academy and checking all that out. So looking forward to that.
Apparently,
Yeah.
Kareem, who plays Jaden, is a big comics guy.
Okay.
He was thrilled to find out we were doing the series. So
Nice.
I think
Nice.
that'll be really exciting. I'm excited
Awesome.
for him to read it. He's a big comics guy.
Awesome. Good to know. Yeah, it's a great series, and I'm glad that, as we were talking, you're mentioning the like the stuff you kind of want to bring into Run and all that. Then I'm thinking like, oh yeah, this makes total sense that you're doing Starfleet, because like that's essentially, what Starfleet is. It's a young adult drama, under the mantle of a gigantic space opera.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, I won't keep you both on any longer, so you guys can get some rest, or if you're night owls, I don't know, get back to work. I don't know what your plans
She's gonna
are.
get back to work.
I'm
gonna
a
get
night
back.
owl.
But I appreciate you both so much for giving me some of your time and talking about your stuff. I'm
thank
looking
you for
forward to
Absolutely.
Run.
Thank you for having us.
Can't wait to check it out. And yeah, so I'll make sure there's links to everything in the show notes below. And I almost forgot, and I feel like you've already answered this in a way, but I have to ask. This year, I'm kind of asking my guests when there was a time where they just did the thing, because so much of what we do as creatives can get hung up with procrastination or other things get in the way of things we really want to do. And it doesn't have to be a creative thing. It doesn't have to be a major thing. It can be the smallest little step towards something you've been wanting to do. But can you comment on a time where you just said, you know what, I'm just going to go, and I did the thing? I mean, I could think of sliding into someone's DMs.
I'm living it. But I'm an Aries. I'm a do the thinger. That's
that's your constant state.
I'm always like, might as well see what happens. But no, I'm living it. Sliding into the DMs was definitely a big one, but also just saying, I think for me, saying like, writing matters to me, and if every industry is going to fail us and decide that writing can't happen, I'm going to tell people stories however I can do that. I think that's sort of my biggest thing right now, is just wanting to do that.
Yeah.
I think mine is actually just all of comics. I just decided I was going to do the thing. And because I had literally been working in an entirely different industry, and I had started working at a gallery part-time that specialized in comic art, and just kind of met some people there and saw what they were doing and thought it seemed so cool. And it's something I had always wanted to do, but had no idea how to get in. Like, none of it made any sense to me. I had no map for how to get into it. And so I kind of just made the decision that I was going to figure that out and rolled my way in. I always joke that I kind of fell in the side door of comics, because I didn't do the portfolio reviews or out of the gate. Like, I kind of started at the convention scene first and kind of just dummied my way into the industry. And I think, it's one of those things where it's a big chunk of success especially in entertainment, creative media, is part luck and part just refusal to go away, and part talent. Like, you've got, like, there's a certain amount of longevity. Like, you just have to refuse to go away. You have to get a little lucky, and you have to be willing to put in the work. And, I think I was kind of ignorant enough to not know how hard it was. And then when I realized how hard it was, I was already in, and I was already here. So I just stick it out.
Well, I'm seeing a through line that, a little bit of, being naive is actually a good thing sometimes, especially if you're earnest and you're really just pushing for it. And, Skylar, I sympathize with your journey so much, because it's very much, I'll be a lesser extent. It's the same for me. Is this is like I'm gonna do this, and then before you realize, like, oh wow, there's so much working against you on this.
Right.
I've already decided I'm doing this till I'm dead. So why
Exactly.
stop now?
Yeah. Like, well, I'm here now. So,
So awesome. Well, appreciate you both sharing that with us, and again, your time, and everyone. There'll be links to all their social medias and books and whatever I can find that you can check out their work will be in the show notes below. Layne, Skylar, thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
thank you for having us.